We've found that many people assume advanced care directives and power of attorney decisions are things you only deal with when you're older, seriously ill, or even in crisis already. So these conversations often get postponed, avoided, or maybe quietly hoped away. And then what happens is that families find themselves in painful situations. We see this over and over again where loved ones have to make medical decisions without knowing what the person really wanted. So if you've ever thought to yourself, I should probably do this someday, but I don't even know where to start, you're not alone, and we're going to talk about it.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about advanced care directives, and the goal of an advanced care directive isn't preparing for death. It's protecting your agency and choices if you can't speak for yourself. And it helps prepare for death too. But choosing a healthcare power of attorney or an agent isn't about giving up your control by any means. It's about making sure the right person carries your values forward. These decisions aren't only one-time documents either. And so if you've worked on one before, make sure you go back and keep track of it and keep doing it. They evolve as your life evolves. Your relationships change, your health might change, your beliefs might change. So, but when they're approached thoughtfully, end-of-life planning can become less about fear and more about clarity, care, and communications.
That is right. This will be one part of a series, so be sure to listen to part 2 next week. By the end of these 2 episodes, you'll have a clear understanding of how advanced care directives work, how to choose the right person to speak for you, and how to start conversations that your family may struggle with. These tools won't solve every emotional challenge around death. That's not the point here, but they can certainly give you language to remove the uncertainty about what's needed and to help ensure what your values are, your relationships with people who are going to be helping you, and it'll show people your wishes that will help guide them when these decisions matter the most. We use a resource called the 5 Wishes because it's relatively generic and usable across the country. However, there might be issues depending on where you live, so be sure to consult experts in your area to ensure it's the best possible document for you. We'll include links to these resources in the podcast notes to help you find those experts. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Hello, everybody. My name is Reverend Wakil David Matthews, and we're going to talk about advanced care directives and kind of what they are and how they look, kind of a beginning look at them. We'll have other episodes like this with a little more details, but we wanted to start out today with this one. So welcome.
Welcome. And thank you so much for spending a little time in preparing for either your end of life or loved ones or just thinking about it. And yes, indeed, we are going to be talking about advanced care directive plans today. And I'm the Reverend to Mother Ana Luisa Mendariz. And we are going to be sharing in very broad strokes about the advanced care directive plans, but we're going to get really in depth into the 5 wishes today.
Yeah, because the 5 wishes is one version. There are many others, but the 5 wishes is pretty common. You'll find it everywhere, or a lot of places anyway, and it's easy and it's well done. And you can get it at 5wishes.org. We'll look at a sample of it in a minute, but let's first just talk about what it actually looks like or what it actually contains.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share my screen and we'll take a look.
So I'm also going to I just thought about this. If you are sitting in a hospice situation or in a hospital, somebody's been given a terminal diagnosis and they're still speaking and we're able to get some answers, it would be really nice for you to ask for this. Any nurse's station, any chaplain at the hospital, any assisted living space would probably have a 5 wishes booklet for you.
Yeah.
And it's a really lovely small document that you can just flip through. But today we're going to share it with you so that you can have some of your questions answered probably.
Yeah, yeah, and think about beginning. The only way to start is to start. So,
That's
so
right.
yeah, we've had questions come up about a living will as opposed to this document or this type of document. A living will is similar in a way that it does give directions as to what you want to have happen to you when you're no longer able to make your own decisions. But the five wishes includes a lot of other things as well. Some things like the healthcare agent, the power of attorney. So if you have a living will, you still need to have a power of attorney or a healthcare power of attorney.
Hmm. Hmm.
It can be a little bit confusing. A power of attorney can be a healthcare power of attorney. It can be a financial power of attorney. You can do specific powers of attorney for specific things. But
Right.
in this case, we're talking about healthcare. So
Health. Right. So when would you really, really want this, and who needs it? Right. So in this moment in our medical industry, sometimes we get whisked into situations where we are in the hospital. You can speak for yourself. You can say, yes, I would like this service done. No, I don't need that. But imagine a moment when you are not able to speak for yourself.
yeah,
And what generally happens in hospitals in these situations is they will find five hospitalists, five different people, and they will just kind of band together and say, hey, this is a situation with this patient. What should we do?
right,
Because we don't know them. There's nobody coming through to help us out. And they have what is called the Good Samaritan Act, which says we will just decide like the most life-saving practices will be in this moment given to this person.
exactly,
You
yeah,
may or may not want this,
yeah.
but that's where if you have the five wishes, an advanced care directive plan, or a health power of attorney, you will have your wishes known.
Yeah, and of course they need a copy of that. And your people. The other thing
Yeah,
that'll happen sometimes is that they'll turn to your family members or whoever shows up, and
that's
ask
right.
them. And they may or may not be have the same thoughts that you have about it. So that's again where we
Right.
this is an exercise not only to get this written down, but really the important part of this is to make sure your loved ones know about it and have a copy of it and have agreed
Mhm.
that they're going to support you in what you've asked for. So
Mhm. Mhm.
that's another whole
Mhm.
part of this. So yeah, the things that you see here are covered. The power of attorney, a healthcare agent, like I said, those can be similar, and of course, all your treatment choices that you want, and
Mhm.
and the other wishes are about comfort and how you want people to treat you and what you want them to know. So, a lot of these
Mhm.
things are just the first parts are really this healthcare agent, and we'll talk about that in a little more depth in a moment
Mhm.
here.
Mhm. And it's kind of really overwhelming if especially if you're in a moment of stress to think about power of attorney, healthcare agent. It's in our legal system of our world, it really is intimidating.
Yeah, can
But
be.
I just want you to know that a healthcare agent is someone who will speak for you if you can't speak for yourself.
Yeah,
That's all you need to know. That's
that's
like somebody who you give the car keys to, your verbal car
right.
keys.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So let's actually look at the slide for that, or look at the a sample of that, and then we can talk more about what a healthcare agent looks like, or what that person is, who that person should be. And the point of that again is to really start thinking about for yourself. Who do you trust? Who is somebody that you think
Mhm.
you could count on to show up for you and do it, and do what you've asked. And the way that's going to work is if you talk to
Is
them,
if they know.
right? If they're aware.
Yes.
So that's the first part, is to think about who this is, and then make sure they
Right.
know about it.
Right.
So
So I'm just gonna say, so you're gonna get this little booklet. It's generally blue, and it's just a very simple book, not a heavy, big thing. But you open it up, and this is what the first wish is was going to have you consider.
yeah. And so, yeah, there's some really good information. The nice thing about this is it's really well thought out, and it's been adapted over time, so it gets better. We're looking at a
Mhm.
sample here, as you can see, with a PLE at the end there. Uh, you can get on fivewishes.org, you can either get an online version, which you can just fill out online and keep online, or you can get a hard copy. And the hard copy is actually less
Mhm.
expensive, and I would recommend
Mm.
a hard copy.
Mhm.
One reason for that is it gives you an opportunity to kind of look through it and think about it and work with your family or your
Scribble.
loved ones. Yeah, scribble. Yeah. Do it in pencil, right?
Mhm.
um, And the other thing is that you can then later scan it. And I always,
Mhm,
whenever we're doing classes on on preparing for end of life, we talk about keeping records both in hard copy and online, so that you have
mhm,
both. So
mhm,
you can have
mhm,
this hard copy, put it in your file for people to know where to
mhm,
find it, and then also
mhm,
give your doctors a copy, etc.
mhm.
But then have an online version and let people know where to find those as well.
Right, and I will just do a personal lived experience around this. So, with when my sister was in the hospital numerous times with very clearly, uh, difficult situations, we would always take the time to update this.
Hmm.
Like, we would just go to the nurse's station, I would grab a new one, and I usually carried her previous one, and I would say, "Is this still the same?"
Yeah,
And, she would say yes or no, and or we'd fill it out a little bit more deeply, based on what she was feeling at the time. But I want you to know this is like a living document. So if you sign this today, you could change your mind tomorrow.
yeah,
And, it's okay.
yeah.
But it just gives people an opportunity to think about how you want to be cared for at the end of life.
Yeah, yeah, and it does at the very end of the document say how you can change it. It is a legal document, so it's signed.
Mhm.
So if you do make a new one, you need to destroy the old one and go through this
Mhm.
process. But it talks about that at the end, and talks about what you need, how you need it signed. It depending on where you are, different jurisdictions have different rules around how many signatures you need, whether you need witnesses, that kind of thing.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
the website gives you all that information.
That's right.
So let's talk about who you might choose as a healthcare agent
How do
and
you
why.
yes, how do you choose someone?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so Wakil, just as an experiment, do you know how you would choose your power of attorney?
Yeah, and it's changed over time. So when we first filled this out many years ago, my wife and I chose her brother because he was nearby. He lived nearby, and and he hadn't gone crazy yet. In the meantime, he did go crazy, and well, not literally, but in his views on life changed radically from ours, and so we've changed it, and we changed it a couple of times now. We've changed it to closer friends. More
Mhm.
recently, we've changed it again because we realize as we're getting older that our elder friends may or may not be
Mhm.
here. And so
Right.
we picked somebody younger than ourselves. I think that's an
Mhm.
important thing to think about as you're getting older.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and again, the important piece is somebody who I know and I trust will, in that moment of loss and grief, if
Mhm.
somebody's dying or died, be able to you know, be be your agent. Do what you've
Right.
asked them to do. And
Right.
that's somebody you need to talk to about it. So it's really
So,
yeah,
yeah, so you really need somebody who will follow through with your wishes.
yeah,
Like, I my former husband, he was always like, "I will never pay attention to your stuff because I will wanna keep going.
yeah.
Go, 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 go. We will never, lose to death." So, he was never on my list of health agents.
Right.
And I have a friend who's much younger than me. She was my health agent for a while. But, not necessarily that people go crazy, but people's bandwidth for taking care of somebody else in very serious situations may change.
Yeah,
And you can always also ask whomever, your friend or family who you decide, is this something that you would be willing to do?
yeah,
Is it, and at any point, if you feel like your personal life is just a little too overwhelming, just reach out and let me know and I can find somebody else because it will it needs to be somebody who is going to hold strong because other voices may come at them and say, "No, but we should try to do this and we should
yeah,
try to do that."
yeah,
And they're like, "No, but they don't really want those other things."
yep, exactly.
So, yeah, so one good way is like a good friend, maybe a
Hmm.
younger friend, or even a family member who is really aligned with your core belief systems.
Yeah, yeah. And there you trust that they will be able to handle it and to be able to do what you've asked. And I have a story about this too, and this is important to know, and that is that in one case, a friend of mine had this all written up and had made it very clear, or their mother had made it very clear what they wanted. But when it came time um, for that to be acted on, um, they didn't want to do it. She was no longer
Mm,
able to make decisions, and they
mm,
chose for her despite her wishes, to keep her alive. And she was in pain for a month, basically,
Mhm.
because they didn't
Mhm.
choose to follow her wishes. So it's really important to think about who can you trust, or who do you hope to be able to
Mhm.
trust to do this,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
really follow through with it, even though there may very well be family members,
Mhm.
other people, friends, or whatever, saying you can't do that to them. You've got to keep them alive, or whatever.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
Yeah, and that said, even when you choose somebody, I would encourage like lots of little conversations
yeah,
sporadically through time so that the benefit of talking about it is it empowers that person to actually say without hesitation, no, I actually think they really want this.
yeah,
Because if there's any little bit of uncertainty, it's also detrimental to the person you have asked to fill in for you if you're
yeah,
not able to speak for yourself. So truly, it is, it's a special relationship that you will hold with one, probably two people, because
yeah,
in case one person isn't able to get there fast or isn't
yeah,
able to like check in, the second person in line will actually be the one. Also, you can have somebody call in, just so you know, hospitals will listen to somebody over the phone. I think they used to do that anyways.
yeah, yeah. As long as you're
I'm sure.
listed, as long as they have a copy.
Mhm.
This particular form actually gives you three places, so you can have the backup and a backup, and so you can
Mhm.
pick three different people that will be the ones to do this. And again, it's important to have this conversation not only with these people but with everybody else, and make sure they
Mhm.
know, this is the person I've chosen. I've given them this job and this work, and they've offered to do it, or they've agreed to do it. So you need to pay attention to them when it comes time.
That's
They
right.
they really
That's
do.
right.
They know what I want, and so it's a really important choice to make. And again, like we said,
Mhm.
it can be changed, and it should be. You should be
Mhm.
checking on this on a regular basis, because people
Mhm.
change. Or you might find
Mhm.
somebody that the other thing it notes here is that, um, there are things that, people you shouldn't choose. Like, for instance, your doctor, your medical professionals probably should never be chosen. Somebody who's already
Mhm.
doing it for 10 or 20 people, doesn't
Mhm.
have the bandwidth, as you mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
So you really
Mhm.
want to make sure you talk about this carefully, and make sure the person is somebody who can deal with it. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and I wouldn't pick somebody I haven't spoken to in 20 years,
right.
or a family member who you may have a close relationship, but you also understand that they're at their wits' end with a lot of personal stuff. So maybe don't
Yeah,
put this on their shoulders unless you have a conversation with them first.
yeah,
And, we did talk about fiduciaries, right? Like this is somebody,
yeah,
like there are paid people you could find if you have no one
yeah,
that you would
yeah.
trust to do this.
Yeah, and we're also right now working on a possibility of a nonprofit that would help people who don't have finances, or don't have, the money they would need, or people in their lives that they could trust, to try to
Mhm.
help that too. So we're hoping to have some model in place soon, kind of a, mutual aid model in place, and
Mm.
hopefully spread that idea out a bit, so that if you are in that position where you just don't know anybody, you don't have family members, you don't live near anybody,
Mhm.
whatever, or all your friends are as old as you are, uh, that
Mhm.
there would be some choices in that. So again, this is important, and we really, we take this very
Right.
seriously, and so we're really
Right.
trying to find ways to help. So
Well, and again, I just want to make sure people understand this is free. This is a free service.
yeah,
The financial pieces are not around the five wishes.
yeah,
It is, what we're just trying to support is you having this person. They
hmm,
don't have to pay, you don't have to pay, and it's just somebody who can speak on your behalf if you're unable to.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the Five Wishes does have a small cost when you get it online. So, but it's not very
That's it.
expensive. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like 3, 40. I think it's
Well,
not that
it's
much.
gone up a little bit, but yeah, it's actually
Oh,
more expensive to have the online version, oddly. I would have thought of
hmm,
the other way around, but you can just order I think it's $5 something, and you can order it online, and it'll be sent to you in the mail.
okay. Yay.
Yeah. So that's the first wish, and it's kind of it's prioritized 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so
Mhm.
let's just briefly talk about some of the other ones, and in another episode, we'll talk more deeply about some of those. Um, but some of the other things that, it talks about are your treatment choices. So
Mhm.
specifically,
Mhm.
what do you want to have?
Mhm.
And this can get very detailed, as you were talking about with
That's
with
right.
your sister.
That's right.
You can think of all sorts of different things, and there are actually lists
Right.
online of, in this
Right.
case, do this, in this case, do that. You
Right.
know,
Right.
yeah,
And this is a very simple format for you, like, there's some really hard stops, like 1 or 2, 3 things that you absolutely know. When I do advanced care directive planning, I spend a lot of time just, like, going through these different scenarios because the more information you can give somebody, the easier it will be to navigate that decision.
yeah.
And again, it's, this is just one way to make a very simple advanced care plan in
Hmm.
case you're not able to speak for yourself.
Yeah. So in the case of your choices, your medical choices, you can tell them what you think, what does life support mean far as you're
Mhm.
concerned?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you can say, in case of emergency, do not resuscitate. That's another one, DNR, they call it.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I'll show you here. Let me share another page of this because I think this is a good example of what this document does. So in the document, it has choices that you can choose. You can cross out things that you don't want to choose to do. So as you can see with this part of the document, it's got if you are close to death,
Mhm.
if you have severe brain damage, it's got a lot of different choices here.
Mhm.
Um, and different conditions under which you might want to be kept alive or not. And then the nice thing is that it's got choices that you can pick from. So, um,
Mhm.
if
That's right.
and you can cross out ones, and there's always space at the bottom where you can write other things in. And as we said, there can
Mhm.
be a lot of different situations that you might want to
Mhm. Mhm.
document. So
And
that's
also
what that's
based
about.
on let's say, for instance, you have a terminal illness
Yeah.
and you're gonna be working with, 5 wishes. There are things that you'll know from your medical team of things that might be coming down the road for you,
Yeah.
and you could decide that some of those things, you wanna talk about it a little bit more and figure out how to get through them. So, yes, and in some cases, there's nothing it's imminent, and you just say, "I would like life support if I'm in a bind."
Yeah, right, yeah. And there's a document that we'll talk more about another time called a POLST, a Physician's Orders
Mhm,
for Life-Saving Treatment. That's why,
mhm,
they ask you, what do you consider life-saving treatment?
mhm, mhm.
And we can talk more about that another time, but it's a
Okay.
document that you actually, if you have a terminal diagnosis, or, if you're likely to need an emergency help with from an EMT, that you can have posted in a
In the
obvious
fridge.
place, yeah,
Mhm.
for the EMTs when they show up to know that this is what you want, and the physicians have
That's
signed it.
right.
So that's and if you and there's different things that happen depending on whether you have that or not. So we'll talk more about
Mhm,
that in another
mhm.
episode. Um, yeah, what else do they
Yeah.
talk about? They also talk about comfort. How
Mhm,
comfortable do you want to be, and what do you want people to talk about when they're around you, or how do you want to be treated? So those are the
mhm,
last wishes, are more like practical, what do you want to have happen?
mhm,
So,
mhm.
yeah, what kind of things do you think of when you think of comfort care?
Yeah, and sometimes people don't understand that concept because many of us have not been in that situation or seen others in that situation. But
Yeah.
when my sister and I worked through this, she was very adamant that she wanted to make sure her mouth was kept moisturized because when
Mhm.
you're in the hospital with tubes in your nose and lots of machines around you, the air is very dry.
Yeah.
She was like, "Please swab my mouth frequently. I want lotion on my face and face cream and just to make me not feel so uncomfortable because she had episodes where she came out of, this near death experience and she was just like, I feel so horrible, but it's just like my skin is dry and my
Yeah.
mouth is really parched.
Yeah.
So those are pieces of comfort that you could say you would like.
Yeah, you can
And that way
document.
it would remind your loved ones or whomever are, going to be serving as your proxy, this is what she would really like, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and so thinking about those ahead of time is just such a great thing to do,
Mhm.
and then, how do you want people to treat you? Do you want people to,
Yeah,
and who? I mean, this doesn't really say this, but who do you want to have in the room?
that's right. That is a
Um,
really big one, I think.
yeah, yeah, and especially now in this world of, you may have people you don't really care to have in the room with you, or people that don't agree with your choices about your lifestyle,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
those kind of things that you may just not want to have there. Um,
That's right. I was gonna also say, so, going just really quick back to the comfortable,
yeah.
if you want your, your grandma's quilt with you, put that in there because that could be brought in for you by
Yeah.
someone.
Yeah.
And then the other piece that I just came across with, somebody I worked with, she was pretty adamant that any health, um, experiences that she was going through were not to be posted on any social media.
Yeah.
And that was a really hard one for her husband because he knew that in their community, there was somebody who posts a lot and
Hmm.
wants to share and assumes that this person wants to be all over, having more people know about this.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. And it was a conversation that he and I had to have because I said, as soon as you send out a text, it needs to begin with, "This is private. This is
Yeah.
for our family and our close community. You
Hmm.
are not to share this."
Yeah.
Not to say that somebody won't get, frosty Facebook fingers and decide they're going to go for it, but this would be a good place. Not only who do you want in your room with you
Yeah.
and not want in your room, who do you not want to know about this at the world at large? Because right now, everybody wants to be the bearer of some news to
Right.
be the keeper of it. So be very clear about that.
Yeah. This is a great place to put that down. Exactly. And
Mhm.
and there are choices of ways, like carrying bridge, for instance, things like that, where you can choose to have like one place. And for in one case, the very first thing on the carrying bridge is we would rather not have any advice. We have a really good medical team.
Yeah.
Please don't tell us about your you know, cat's liver or whatever that you think is going to help
That's
us,
right.
and that's another thing to say when, we want people to treat
Yeah.
you with respect. You want them to treat your medical folks with respect.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and, and then, you know, would you like to have music? Would you like to have people praying with you, holding your hand?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, giving you baths, all these kind of things. This is a place to really think about how would it, how would you be most comfortable toward the end of your life?
Mhm.
So it's a
Mhm.
great place to do that.
And I will say there's some people who will, because of modesty, will not want others to be doing this, but you can name a person if
Yeah,
you have a conversation with them. And it could also just mean like, washing my hands with a warm towel. Like
yeah,
that is a very lovely thing that I personally like to do when I visit people in the hospitals because it generally people I've walked into so many hospital rooms where people are like unkempt and, I
yeah,
haven't got my teeth brushed in 3 days because people are too busy and really truly feel into what you would appreciate
yeah,
as others are coming in and seeing you.
yeah, yeah.
I would like to be cared for as though I'm still very present.
Hmm.
Keep me modest, but still please take care of my body.
Yeah, comb my hair,
Comb my
Yeah,
hair.
yeah. Massages, I mean, foot massage, hand massage,
Mhm.
things like that
Mhm.
that are just gonna make you feel better, or somebody coming in to sing songs for you, All these things you
Mhm.
can start to write down. This is a great place to put it down and to talk to your beloveds about, "This is really what I want." So,
Mhm.
and then the last thing on here is really what you want them to know, and, there are varieties of this. We've had people on our podcast come and talk about what they can, 2 envelopes, right? Um, and, we've had other things, legacy letters or things like that, just
Mhm.
love letters to your friends and your
Mhm.
loved ones. And you can put this in here, you can have separate things. Um, all of this, they have space in this particular document for you to fill this out, but in many cases, you may very well wanna have envelopes for everybody, all of your friends, all of your
Yeah,
loved ones, all of your kids, or your
right.
parents, or whoever.
And this is starting to sound like a lot of work, and you don't have to do all these things. The
Yeah,
the the most important piece about 5 wishes is to have somebody who can speak for you if you're unable to speak. All these other pieces, well, your care is something that is very personal to you,
yeah,
and if you just speak this out to people, this would be
mhm,
very, very good, but I don't want people to feel like I can't even do
overwhelmed.
this because yes, because I have too many things to think about. Just
Yeah,
find the one
yeah,
person you can gently, consider a cup of tea and a
uh-huh,
little conversation,
yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, and in all of the in the classes that I teach about preparing, it's 2 hours worth of, oh my God, there's so many things, and
Mhm.
really what, yeah, we emphasize that over and over again. Be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, take the
Mhm.
time. to simply, just spend a little bit of time once a week or something, and just put it on your calendar
Uh-huh.
even,
Mhm.
and just spend a little bit of time beginning and just begin baby
Mhm.
steps.
Mhm.
And this can
Mhm.
also help with these conversations that are hard sometimes, with
Mhm.
your loved ones. Just start having this conversation in small
Mhm.
pieces. Just, let's talk
That's
today.
right.
Let's talk today about, what, and you said something earlier, and we'll have another episode, I think, about this, but just, talk about what you've experienced
That's
and
right.
with other people, because that's a really good doorway into this conversation.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So I hope this has been useful for everybody,
Mhm.
and we'd love to hear your questions and thoughts. So please respond, please comment, please share, please subscribe, and
Yes.
and uh, we look forward to sharing more information with you in the future.
That's right. Be well. You got this.
You got it. Adios.
Adios.
Death and dying, grief and loss, conversations about the end of life.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to Charles Heaston, the composer of the original music you are listening to now.
And of course, thanks to you, our audience, and all of our amazing guests. Please come back next week for another great episode. Share this with your friends, family, and community. We hope you will subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. Each guest's additional information will be found in the podcast notes. And of course, if you have a good end-of-life story to share, please reach out. We are always eager to hear from you.